President Trump told our Weijia Jiang in a phone interview this morning that gas prices, now above $4 a gallon on average, will drop, quote, when we leave, meaning when we leave Iran. When will that be? The president wouldn't tell Weijia so. She quite naturally asked the super smart follow-up question. What has to happen between now and then for you to declare victory? Trump's answer, and I quote, not much. Not much. I don't want to use an exact day, but we've done our job. Add to this statement, Evanescent reports that senior Iranian leaders might, emphasis on the word might, be willing to end the war, and, well, the market shook off their volatility and moodiness and began to edge toward giddiness. The Dow closed up 2.5%. The tech-heavy NASDAQ closed up nearly 4%, and the S&P closed up almost 3%. Oil traded lower, but it's worth pointing out that Brent crude and West Texas Intermediate still traded above $100 per barrel. That matters because at that price, gas prices will remain high, at least for the foreseeable future. Those costs are real and straining budgets, if not patience. Probably patience, too. Our Lana Zak, who will join us in a moment, has been gathering reaction nationwide about this for days. Here's a farmer in Iowa who has been absorbing higher diesel fuel prices as well as all the other burdens of, running a farm.
This conflict just amplifies that, and it just feels like the world's trying to take this all away from us right now, financially.
And this from a dog walker in Oakland, California, who drives to pick up several dogs, drives them to hikes, and then drives them back to their owners. Lots of driving.
I just paid $6.19 per gallon today. Recently, gas prices were $4 something, so that's a massive increase for us. Everybody's feeling it. Yeah, we unfortunately have to raise prices. We're probably going to do it May 1st, and a large part of that is gas prices.
Our friends at WCCO in Minneapolis spoke to a flower shop owner.
We were offering free delivery to surrounding cities, but now with the price going up, it's just not likely that we can offer that anymore.
Lana Zak joins me now from North Liberty, Iowa, as the White House promises emphatically that these price increases for gas are temporary. Lana, I'm sure the people you talk to don't feel as if this is a temporary situation.
That's exactly right, Major. And let's talk about the specifics, because people here are feeling it, and some people across the country are feeling it more than others. This is particularly true of folks who rely on diesel. That is up about $2 a gallon since the start of the war. We're talking about truckers filling up a semi. That's about 300 gallons. Filling up a tractor. Lance Lillibridge, the farmer in Vinton, Iowa, that I was talking to, he said it's costing him now $300 to fill up the tractor that I rode along with him in. It used to cost him $200. That's one of 5 tractors that he's using right now in the busy spring planting season. And all of this comes, Major, as people, particularly in the heartland, but farmers especially, are trying to recover from the devastating effects of last year's financial harvest that put so many of them in the red. Here's a little bit more of what Lance had to say.
I'd like to see my kids be able to take this on, but we've got a generational problem, and if our kids see us struggling out here, why would they want to take it on? Why would anybody want to do it? If it costs you more to plant a crop than what you can get out of it, why should we do that?
So, Major, as you're well aware, and our savvy viewers are well aware, all of that has ripple effects throughout the communities, particularly farm communities. But all of us who rely on these farmers and these truckers to get us the goods, well, we're going to be bearing the brunt of those higher prices.
And Lana, in your conversations, did those you were talking to clearly affected and stressed by these price increases assess any blame?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to, of course. There's no monolith here in Iowa, even though it's a red state, just as there is no monolith anywhere else in this country. But I have noticed a difference whereas many of the farmers who previously supported Trump were sort of holding out hopes that things were going to get better, there's a lot less patience here in the heartland for what they see is just one hardship after another, and all of them, they feel like, are being either not responded to quickly enough by the administration or caused by their policies, Major?
Lana Zak, I appreciate that very much. Thank you so much. For more, let's turn to our friend, Justin Wolfers, friend of the show. Calls me mate. I love that. He's an economics public policy professor at the University of Michigan and, importantly, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. All right, Justin, I always do this. We do this almost ritualistically, but it's important. Where are things and what are you watching in the next couple of days?
Yes, so almost all economic eyes are looking at Iran right now. It's not just that it's an oil story, it's a geopolitics story. What we know from past wars is they rarely turn out and meet the optimistic expectations we have at the start. We're in the beginning of week 5 of what we were told would be a 4 to 5 week war. And what I'm looking at in particular is the ups and downs in the stock market, partly because that's just a barometer for what's happening overseas. And what we've seen is every time, and we've seen a couple of these in the last couple of days, every time it looks like there's a step towards de-escalation, even a very small step, financial markets rejoice. This is financial markets basically saying, we think our economic prospects are brighter if the US is not escalating in the Middle East. And when oil trades down, as it did today, but it's still in the major ones we watch, Brent crude and West Texas Intermediate above $100 a gallon, that's still a warning sign. It's not just a warning sign, it's a threat. The threat right there is, as you pointed out, it's a commodity that is really important throughout the economy. It's important, obviously, for gasoline. It's important for diesel, but it's also important for fertilizer. It's important for plastics, and even just something like the delicious organic kale I'm going to eat tonight. Well, it was trucked here on a truck that uses some of that oil, so it's just about everywhere. And what we've seen gas prices rise, they probably haven't risen as far as they will rise if oil prices stay this high. Typically, the percentage rise in the oil price causes an equal percentage price in gas prices. And so far, $100 a barrel is about a 60 or 70% rise in the price of oil. We've seen gas rise maybe 30 or 40%. So if things stay as they are, you can expect to pay even a little bit more at the pump. And when the president says, as he did in an interview today, that the Strait of Hormuz will open up automatically, or maybe the Brits or the French should go in there and open it up because the United States isn't going to bother with that, how does that factor into your short-term analysis? Yeah, mate, look, sometimes I go to bed and I just wish and hope for a beautiful tomorrow. I hope that there'll be presents waiting for me and there'll be fairies and unicorns. And the truth is, actually, Christmas Day, that happens. I go to bed Christmas Eve, I wake up and there are all sorts of presents and I don't know what happened. So, look, it is possible to just hope good things into existence, but I'm not quite sure I'd call that a strategy. The Straits of Hormuz is of immense economic and geopolitical significance, and the idea that you can just have a sleep and hope that Santa will fix it overnight strikes me as a little bit short-sighted. What does this mean, Justin, in the way you're evaluating future jobs data? Because prices are one thing, wages are another, job availability and job openness, or the loss of jobs, has begun trickling through the economy in data sets that have struck some as worrisome. Absolutely. And so this is where you're right to move this story beyond like, oh, it's going to cost you a few extra bucks at the pump. The real cost actually is going to come if there's broader macroeconomic consequences. And so let me share with you a couple of things. One, Goldman Sachs was out with a note yesterday, a couple of days ago, saying that they think that the current crisis will knock about 10,000 jobs per month off of regular job growth. So literally tens of thousands, potentially even hundreds of thousands of people going without work as a result of this. And then I've taken some of the estimates, whether it's from Goldman Sachs or from the OECD or other forecasters, and sort of just mathed it out. It's a reasonable guess right now that this is costing American households on the order of several $100 billion. Now, there's 100 million households. So what that means is it's costing the typical American household maybe a couple of $1,000s. And if we end up in one of those worst situations, maybe as much as $10,000. So I want you to go back and put this in context. Remember, the president was promising us a DOGE check. Then he promised us as a tariff check. well, actually, this is like that, but it's the opposite, which is we're all going to end up a couple of grand worse off.
Harder to buy that organic kale under those circumstances. Justin Wolfers, I appreciate the time very much, as always.